So let's review what we know about an economy based on the formulas. So let's suppose that we get a formula for consumption spending that is 50 plus 0.4y. All right, what does that tell you about the economy? It tells you that autonomous consumption spending is 50. So even if households have $0 worth of income, we're still collectively going to spend $50 on goods and services. And then we find that our marginal propensity to consume is 0.4. And so what does that 0.4 tell you? It tells you for every dollar of income, households will spend 40 cents on consumption spending on goods and services. All right, what if we have a formula that says savings is equal to negative 80 plus 0.2y? What does that tell you about the economy? It tells you that there's autonomous dissavings of $80. So if we have zero income, we're going to pull $80 out of savings. And we know from the previous formula that 50 of that is going to go to consumption spending. So the question is, where does the rest of it go? Well, if we pull $80 out of our savings and $50 of it goes to buy goods and services, then the rest of it, the $30, goes to taxes. So we must have autonomous taxes of $30. Okay, and we'll figure out how much induced taxes we have in a moment. That's because when you have money, you can either spend it, save it, or pay taxes. And if we're pulling money out of our savings, then we're either spending it or paying for it with taxes. We can also see from the savings formula the marginal propensity to save. So for every $1 of income, we're going to save 20 cents. So if for every dollar of income, we're going to spend 40 cents on goods and services, and we're going to save 20 cents, well, what are we doing with the rest of the dollar? So a dollar minus 40 cents minus 20 cents. What's left over is an additional 40 cents. So what are we doing with that 40 cents? Well, we're paying taxes. So we can see here the marginal tax rate is going to be 0.4, and the slope of that tax function is going to be the 0.4. And that's because for a dollar of income, you can spend it, you can save it, you can pay net taxes. Okay. So if we have our consumption function and our savings function, we can find the tax function. All right, let's also assume that investment spending is 30. And if we look at that formula, what we see is investment spending autonomous, induced, or both? Well, since there's no y in that formula, it is autonomous. Investment spending does not depend on income. All right, here's government spending. $25. Is government spending autonomous, induced, or both? Well, we can see from that formula, because it has no y in it, it is autonomous spending. It does not depend on income. And let's see, we have exports of 10 and imports of 5 plus 0.3y. So we can see exports here. Is it autonomous, induced, or both? Exports, that's when other countries buy our goods. It does not depend on our income, so there's no y in the formula. Import spending, notice it is autonomous and induced. So $5 of autonomous spending, even if we had zero income, we would still bring in $5 worth of goods into the country because there's some basic necessities we can't produce here. And then as our income increases, the amount we import from other countries increases as well. So based on that formula, the marginal propensity to import is 0.3. For every dollar of income, 30 cents of that is used to buy foreign goods. All right, so now that we have our C and our S and our I and our G and our X and our IM, we can start to analyze further what's happening in the economy. So we found that our net taxes were 30 plus 0.4y. Now let's find our exports minus our imports. So what's happening with net exports? To do this, we take 10 minus 5 plus 0.3y. And if you're subtracting an entire formula, then you need to make sure that that negative goes to both the negative 5 and to the negative 0.3y. And now what we're doing is combining the numbers that don't contain y and the numbers that contain y. So we end up with 10 minus 5, which is 5, minus 0.3y. So our formula for net exports says that we have autonomous net exports of $5. So if income is 0, then we're bringing in $5 more worth of goods that are going out. And as our income increases, the net exports decrease. And that's because the more income we have, the more we import, and that's money going out, which is why there's a negative there. That 0.3 is the marginal propensity to import, and the negative is just telling you the money is leaving. All right, can you find aggregate expenditures? To find aggregate expenditures, remember aggregate expenditures is C plus I plus G plus X minus IM. And so we need our formula for C, which is 50 plus 0.4y. And we need our formula for investment spending, which is 30. And our formula for government spending, which is 25. And our formula for net exports, X minus IM, is equal to our 5 minus 0.3y. So we want to add up C plus I plus G plus X minus IM. That'll give us aggregate expenditures. So we can add up everything that does not contain a y. So 50 plus 30 plus 25 plus 5. If we do that, we get 50 plus 30 is 80, plus 25 is 105, plus 5 is 110. And now we need to add up the things that have y's in them. So we have a 0.4y and we have a minus 0.3y. So 0.4 minus 0.3 gives us 0.1y. So what can we tell about the economy from this? What we can tell here is that we have autonomous spending for the total economy of $110. So if income is 0 for the entire economy, they're still spending of $110. What else we can find from here is the MPE. MPE is the slope of the aggregate expenditure function, and here it's 0.1. So for every dollar of income, collectively, we are spending $1 on our economy. Now notice that for every dollar of income, we spent 40 cents on goods and services, but 30 cents of that was going to foreign goods. So only 10 cents is actually spent on our economy. All right, let's look at what if income was equal to 150? If income was equal to 150, what is happening with the balance of trade? X minus IM. Well, we can plug that y into this formula. And we do our order of operations, so multiply the 0.3 and the 150. And so we get 5 minus 0.3 times 150 is 45. And so our net exports 5 minus 45 is a negative 40. If your net exports are negative, what does that tell you what's happening with your balance of trade? Well, if it's negative, it's because our imports are more than our exports, and so here, when income is 150, we have a trade deficit. All right, let's figure out what's happening with the government's budget. Okay, So we're going to look at government spending, our G equals 25, and compare it to our taxes. And let's keep our income of 150. So if income is equal to 150, government spending is still 25, but then taxes, 30 plus 0.4 times 150, our net taxes. All right, so we do our 0.4 times 150, so we get 30 plus 60. So net taxes are 90. Government spending is 25. So if we're bringing in more tax revenue than the government is spending, do we have a surplus or a deficit? We have a budget surplus. And how big is that surplus? Well, it's a difference between 90 and 25. So we have a budget surplus here of $65. All right, let's try one more question in our review. And that is, let's suppose that the government decides to increase its spending by 20 bucks. So if the government stimulates this economy by increasing government spending by 20 bucks, what impact does it have on the economy? Well, to figure this out, we need to find the spending multiplier. And the spending multiplier is 1 over 1 minus MPE. So our spending multiplier, 1 over 1 minus MPE. And our MPE is the slope of the aggregate expenditure function. So we take 1 over 1 minus 0.1, which is 1 divided by 0.9. And 1 divided by 0.9 is 1.11. So what does that tell us if the government decides to increase spending by 20 bucks? Well, this is an increase in autonomous spending. And when you increase autonomous spending, it has a ripple or multiplicative effect. So the government spends 20 bucks, and the impact it has on the economy is 20 times 1.11. And so $20 of government spending increases national income by $22.20. So government spends 20 bucks, national income increases by $22. So the initial government spending of 20 bucks adds 20 bucks to the income, and then based on the fact that most of our money is leaking out in imports, only a little bit is staying, then you see a very limited multiplicative effect because government spending creates income. The income means people buy stuff that creates more income for others. But if most of it's leaking out to other countries in terms of imports, you can see the multiplier is fairly small. So you should be able to look at the different formulas, and you should be able to tell us what's happening in the economy based on the formulas. And you should be able to use those formulas to find aggregate expenditures, and from there find MPE, and then find the spending multiplier. How much of an impact does fiscal policy, government stimulation priming the pump, have on the economy?